Coming to you live from Nairobi, Kenya. This is a daily report right here on TV47. Karibu sana. I hope you're having an amazing day. To the highlights tonight. Tonight, we cannot take it anymore.
And we are telling them, Nairobi business community is back. Yes. Whether they like it, it is us. It is now them versus us. Otherwise, we are here only to protect our business.
The business community strongly condemns the theft and destruction of their property during the protests, pointing a finger of blame to fake protesters and police alike. Also tonight, senators go on the warpath over the recent anti-government protests, demanding Police Inspector General Kome's head on a platter alongside radical changes in government.
The Inspector General of Police is the embodiment of lack of capacity to lead the Kenya Police Service. Mr. Kome must leave office immediately.
Plus, just a month after the Ministry of Health procured its first consignment of childhood vaccines following an acute vaccine shortage witnessed in May this year, a biting shortage still remains in 10 counties, with over 1.6 million newborns still at risk.
Other things like rota or any additional services like that influenza is not readily available there. So you find that our children are really coughing.
Welcome to the bulletin. I'm yours truly, Stanley Nyaringita, holding fort for Hibak side. Coming up later on Marketplace, we discuss the businesses and how they've really felt the pinch on these demonstrations and protests. We do begin the bulletin with the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. SRC has frozen the upward review of salaries for all state officers. SRC Chairperson Lynn Mengich says the review will occur taking into account the economy, contractual agreements and the budget. George Maringa opens our bulletin tonight.
For the last 3 days, social media has been on fire as reports emerged of a gazette notice by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, SRC, effecting a salary increment for all state officers. And come Wednesday, SRC was quick to clear the air over the said gazette notice. For starters, it is not a fresh notice.
SRC takes this early opportunity to clarify that the salary increases for state officers has not been newly gazetted as referenced in the media. SRC set and published a gazette notice on 9th August 2023 as part of the third remuneration and benefits review cycle for state officers and other public officers that would be implemented over a 2-year period, 2023-2024 financial years and 2024-2025 financial year. This review came after a 2-year freeze on pay structures for the period 2021-22 financial year and 2022-2023 financial year on account of the impact of COVID-19 on the economy.
The conversation on salary increment would attract reactions from across the political divide.
It would be insensitive for us as members of parliament to accept any purported salary increment amidst the rage that is out there. As a matter of fact, again, I want you to go on record that I, together with my deputy, Honorable Mbui, have rejected in totality the purported salary increment by the SRC.
To be very sincere, I personally, even I was very shocked that during this time of unrest for the last 2 weeks or so, I found it very absurd for the SRC to release such news.
SRC has since halted the increment.
SRC hereby freezes the upward review of salaries for all state officers and will review the advice for all other officers, taking into account the current realities of the economy, taking into account any contractual commitments.
Earlier in the day, Public Service Performance and Delivery Management CS Moses Kuria wrote to SRC urging the Commission to de-gazette the increment, citing austerity measures. State House spokesperson Hussein Mohammed on X said that President William Ruto had directed the National Treasury to review the Gazette notice of August 2023.
In line with what is stipulated in the Public Finance Act, which clearly stipulates that the wage bill should not be more than 35%. I have shared where we are, which is 46%. So the measures that the Commission has put in place and were discussed at length during the last wage bill conference is exactly to do that. How do we get to 35%? So it's not just about saying, can we freeze? It is beyond that to saying, what do we need to do to get to the 35%, because that is what is the commitment. And the measures will, yes, include the allowances, definitely. Your specific question is, will it include salary cuts? Now, remember, when it comes to a salary cut, there is also the law, which then we have to contend with.
When all is said and done, SRC maintains that the conversation on wage bill requires a 360-degree approach.
It actually means, as the SRC Act mandates the Commission to carry out labor studies, in other words, salary surveys, to establish the trend in the market. I did share with you earlier that today we are operating in a number of public officer institutions below 40%. So surely for that cadre, we cannot say, let's just cut pay, because we must speak to, they are also entitled to fair pay, a pay that will attract and retain.
For years, the conversation on wage bill has persisted, even as SRC gives a timeline of 2028 to achieve 35%. But even as that happens, eyes will be on how the next 4 years will play out in order to ensure that 11% is cut out to achieve 35%. George Maringa, TV47, Nairobi.
Many thanks, George Maringa, for that. And still on matters austerity measures, Chief Justice Martha Koome, who also chairs the Judicial Service Commission, has suspended the recruitment of 11 new Court of Appeal judges following a 15% budget cut in the National Treasury appropriation budget. The Judiciary has been allocated 20 billion cash shillings, a downward review from the initial allocation of 24 billion shillings. The move by GSC follows an earlier directive by President William Ruto to cut expenditure across all arms of the government and county governments after the president declined to assent to the finance bill of 2024 that sparked outrage among Kenyans and occasioned protests across the country. Martha Koome has, however, expressed fears that this will affect judiciary operations, with major adjustments of programs to follow, among them a delay in delivery of verdicts of the 13,331 pending cases in appellate courts across the country. To health matters now, and just a month after the Ministry of Health procured its first consignment of childhood vaccines following an acute vaccine shortage witnessed in May this year. A spot check by TV47 has revealed some inequalities in the supply of the crucial vaccines, that some counties including Bungoma are still grappling with vaccine shortage, whereas some counties like Nyeri have 2 months of stock available. Elizabeth Atieno, our health reporter, with the details.
At the Bungoma Children's Clinic, uncharacteristic silence is in the air. And the rooms in this clinic remain quite deserted. Many hospital beds are equally empty. Here, we meet Nekesa Khaemba in the company of her 9-month-old baby. Nekesa was forced to visit this private hospital for her child's routine vaccination, since there are no vaccines in public health facilities in Bungoma County.
When we go to public hospital for the vaccination, we are not able to get all the services that are needed. Sometimes you are able to get half of the vaccines, like KP. Those normal injections are there, but these other things like rota or any additional services like that influenza is not readily available there. So you find that our children are really coughing, they are suffering with flu.
Some of the critical life-saving vaccines unavailable in Bungoma include BCG, oral polio, tetanus diphtheria, measles rubella, and hepatitis B.
And you see most of the children now, like those who are having sickle cell, they normally spend most of the time in the hospital. Now, as Bungoma Children's Clinic, we decided to introduce this vaccine so that they can help them, so that they can live a healthy life as other children.
An almost similar situation is witnessed in the counties of Bomet, Narok, Turkana, Wajir, Isiolo, Mandera, Garissa, Uasin Gishu, Marsabit, Kakamega, Tana River, Homa Bay, and Isiolo. The situation is different in Nyeri County, which has adequate vaccines to be used for more than a month.
I think with the current stock of vaccines can last Nyeri County for 1.5 months, except COVID vaccines. And the reason why KEMSA is declining to give COVID vaccines is because it's not a priority.
On the 6th of June 2024, the Ministry of Health announced that it had procured childhood vaccines worth 1.25 billion Kenya shillings, which set ground for the first consignment of 8 million doses of childhood vaccines. This decision came at a time when the country was grappling with a serious shortage of vaccines due to a 1.5 billion Kenya shillings debt owed to suppliers like UNICEF and Gavi. The ongoing shortage of life-saving vaccines in the 10 counties poses a serious health risk to 1.6 million infants who might be exposed to diseases like polio, tetanus, diphtheria, whooping cough, diarrhea, pneumonia, and measles. Elizabeth Atieno, TV47.
Thank you, Liz Atieno. Let me take you to Parliament buildings now. Senators have called upon President William Ruto to fire Inspector General of Police for killings which happened during the demonstrations by Gen Zs, insisting that he has failed in his mandate and therefore shouldn't continue holding that office. As our senior political reporter Elizabeth Mutuku reports, senators have urged the president and his Kenya Kwanza government to take action instead of dwelling on talks and planning, insisting that he should reorganize his cabinet to have competent leaders, as well as working on removing unconstitutional offices, including that of First Lady, Second Lady, and that of Prime Cabinet Secretary, among others.
On Sunday, President William Ruto made a promise to Kenyans to work on austerity measures on all government offices to ensure that Kenyan government lives within its means, a matter he says is in response to the Gen Z protest clarion call. Today, senators came out guns blazing, targeting the president and his Kenya Kwanza brigade for allegedly turning a blind eye to atrocities committed to Kenyans.
Mr. Speaker, to break the system after we repair it. The punishment must be punitive, Mr. Speaker, so that it gets to a point where people fear. You know, people don't fear to be corrupt in this country because they know what is the worst that will happen. I will be taken to court, I will pay a bail, and I will walk scot-free. Chances are I'll enjoy that money until I die.
Majority Whip Boni Halwale calling out some leaders who have made blatantly rubbed salt on the painful and diverse wounds suffered by Kenyans.
People are angry and hate public servants because of our own making. The public display of wealth and opulence, unless members of the public can quickly see where you've gotten it.
Fearlessly, the angry senators urged the number one in command to listen to the council and consider firing the Inspector General of Police, Japheth Koome, for failing Kenyans, especially for killings which have occurred during the 3 weeks protest by Gen Z. The senators stating that the IG has failed on his mandate and therefore should be made to vacate office. Furthermore, the senators want the president to ensure all unconstitutional offices are removed.
Solve cabinet, reconstituted. Mr. President, disband offices outside the Constitution, including CAS, including Prime Cabinet Secretary, It is not in the Constitution of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, including officers of First Ladies, including, Mr. Speaker, advisors. If advisors are useful, then what David Lee is doing is not advice, is misadvice.
Some of the demands to the government by the Gen Z are austerity measures to the government institutions, a cabinet reshuffle, including reducing the number of ministries, removal of the First Lady, Second Lady, as well as unconstitutional offices, employment to the youth, and dealing with corruption menace. This comes with the president expected to speak to the youth on the X social media platform. This is seemingly the first step to a new Kenya, with leaders from both political divides united and
as a demonstration that he has listened and understood what the people are saying.
TV47
Reduce the size of your cabinet from 21 to 14, the minimum. Merge departments. Reduce the number of principal secretaries from 51 to around 30 or even 14.
This is seemingly the first step to a new Kenya, with leaders from both political divides united and speaking against punitive measures from government. Elizabeth Mutuku, TV47 Nairobi.
Right, spot on, Elizabeth Mutuku, thank you for that. Now to something that will form the basis of our conversation later on Marketplace. The Nairobi business owners have now accused security officers of not doing enough to safeguard the businesses which were looted during the recent anti-government protests. Separately, one person was reported dead at the Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital, while 30 nursing injuries as violent protests boiled over Tuesday afternoon, as Mike Kagwongo reports.
Business people in Nairobi are up in arms over the destruction caused by anti-government protests happening for the third week in a row. The traders under the Nairobi Business Community Umbrella Organization assert that the Gen Z-originated protests have now been greatly infiltrated by criminals, who are now using it to conduct looting and other acts of criminality.
The business community, feeling that the protection of the government, of the police, it is not sufficient, we are coming out to put and give support to the security agents.
And we are telling them, Nairobi business community is back. Yes. Whether they like it, it is us, it is now them versus us. Otherwise, we are here only to protect our businesses.
Nairobi Central Business District Boda Chairperson Dennis Acheng denounced the intimidation of traders and Boda riders by perpetrators who have exploited the recent demonstrations to commit violent crimes and robberies.
Hakuna uporaji wa CBD. Sisi tutashirikiana na business community kulinda mali zao. Manake business community ndiye imetuweka CBD. Bila hao sisi hatuna kazi.
Elsewhere in Kisii County, one person was reported dead at the Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital, as 30 others continue receiving treatment following Tuesday's protests. Hospital administration claims that out of the 30 individuals, 2 had been shot and required surgery.
Most of them are stable. 2 out of 22 are scheduled for theater today for various injuries suffered. 2 out of the 22 have obvious gunshots.
Photos of alleged looters spotted during the protests have since been made public by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations. The investigating agency is looking to make arrests of those who they suspect are responsible for the losses suffered by motorists and traders. Meanwhile, the Kenya County College and University Students Association has called on youth to swiftly accept President William Ruto's call for dialogue in an effort to safeguard people's property.
We have accepted and welcomed the National Dialogue Forum proposed by His Excellency the President. We appreciate our President for taking the issues of the comrades with such genuine gravity and seriousness.
We are privileged to have the opportunity to interact, to interrogate and discuss for the matters of students, education, and foster a cultural interchange between us, between any stakeholder in the education sector.
President William Ruto on Saturday proposed the formation of a multi-sectoral forum to help quell the ongoing protests. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Mike, for that. Tonight, the Azimio coalition has alleged the government hired goons who infiltrated Tuesday protests, causing violence, deaths, and destruction of property. Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka claims the move was part of a plot to help President William Ruto declare a state of emergency. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who spoke in Laikipia County, asked the youth to call off the demos, saying they have been infiltrated by criminal elements.
With police yet to make any arrests on the alleged financiers behind the perpetrators of Tuesday chaotic protests that was marked by violence, looting and destruction of property, the Azimio coalition has added a new twist to the sordid story, claiming that the goons who allegedly infiltrated the protest countrywide were state-sponsored, the objective being allegedly to create the right excuse for President William Ruto to call for a state of emergency to contain the demos.
There are many questions that Gen Z, Azimio, and the world have. The two most significant of which are, why is Ruto, through his henchmen and thugs, hiring goons to destabilize constitutionally protected protests, causing chaos and mayhem? Is the goal to declare a state of emergency and suspend the constitution?
In response, Kenya Kwanza leaders have laughed off the allegations, terming them as total hogwash.
We cannot arrange for ourselves to have the government unstable. How can we are we mad? These are the people who have been fueling this thing. Not unless we are mad is what we can do as a government. We want a stable government so that we can try to showcase our mandate by delivering to to our manifestos which we had given to our people when we were campaigning.
In a separate statement, Azimio coalition leader Raila Odinga claimed the protest had been hijacked. Odinga described the hijacking of the protests by goons as double betrayal to the youth. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who spoke in Laikipia County during the burial of his sister Leah Wangari, appealed to Gen Zs to call off the protests, citing the idea that criminal elements have hijacked their cause.
I want to, as a father, as a parent, to appeal to my children, my sons and daughters. Listen to us as your parents. I think if you agree, we want to plead with you to call off the protests so that criminals do not hijack them.
Azimio is piling pressure on President William Ruto to sign the IEBC Amendment Bill 2024 into law, saying it's time the country goes for a snap election, as Kenyans have lost confidence in Kenya Kwanza leadership.
To expedite the people's wishes, Azimio demands that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill 2024 be immediately signed into law.
That we cannot be able to live any longer with William in power, with William and his cabinet in office, and equally with a parliament that have been impeached.
The Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, has released photos of the most wanted individuals who committed unlawful activities during the protests, while singling out Sostin Otieno, who attacked a police officer in Bondo, leaving him with severe injuries. Apul Kamau, TV47.
Thank you, Paulie, for that. Let me take you to the corridors of justice. And Francis Muturi, the former National Social Security Fund, NSSF investments manager, has lost his appeal against his conviction for embezzling 1.2 billion cash shillings from NSSF and the subsequent jail term of 14 years. The anti-corruption court, presided over by Justice Nixon Sifuna, upheld the penalties, including a 2.6 billion cash shillings fine. While upholding the penalties, Justice Nixon Sifuna held that, they quote, "This was a mammoth fraud and there is evidence on record from the trial court sustaining the conviction, and I therefore uphold the appellant's conviction. Hence, this appeal for conviction fails." End of quote. In 2022, the then Chief Magistrate Lawrence Mugambi found Muturi and 3 directors of Discount Securities Limited, DCL, guilty of causing the 1.2 billion cash shillings loss. Mugambi, now a judge, imposed a 14-year prison sentence on Muturi, or alternatively, a 2.6 billion cash shillings fine. Additionally, the DCL officials, David Githaiga, Wilfred Weru, and Isaac Nyamongo, were each fined 802 million cash shillings or face a 12-year prison term. Justice Mugambi further barred Muturi from ever holding a public office forever. Meanwhile, an update by the Health Cabinet Secretary, Susan Akumecho, on the health status and hospitals' bills of casualties of the anti-government protests has sparked an uproar on social media after she stated that no hospitalized protesters have been charged for treatment in government hospitals. A view many disagree with. 54 people have reportedly been injured in the protests on Tuesday across the country. Many protesters who were injured in the protests over the last 2 weeks have been stuck with hospital bills. Kenyans, especially those online, have banded together to contribute millions towards the treatment of those who have been injured. Kiseo Emory tells us more.
Early Wednesday morning, Cabinet Secretary Susan Nakumicha announces that no injured protester has been asked for funds for treatment sustained in the protests. Her comments have caused an uproar on social media, with users claiming that only Kenyatta National Hospital have waived bills, and that only began at the start of the month, more than 2 weeks after the protest started. This comes even as the health CS comes under increasing scrutiny over the underperforming health sector, currently undergoing a clinician strike, lack of vaccines, and unposted intern doctors. As things stand, 24 protesters are currently admitted at Kitengela Sub-County Hospital after sustaining gunshot wounds during the chaotic demonstration witnessed in Kitengela Tuesday.
Nilikuwa na risasi kwa mguu, lakini nikaenda hii hospitali, wamenitoa, nimetoka Vieta saa hii.
Mahali askari walianza kurusha tu marisasi. Mimi nikiwa tu kwa gari, nilikuja nikanipata, nikaruka chini. Sasa hata sikujua wenye nilifika kwa hospitali.
Similarly, in Kisii County, 30 others are currently admitted in hospitals with a myriad of injuries.
Just struck by some goons who are accompanying the policemen at my head, and this is the crack, and my knee was also cracked with those goons.
This has added to a growing number of injured protesters stuck in hospitals, unable to pay their bills. In the face of this, Kenyans have banded together, contributing almost 29.7 million to an mchanga account mobilized by a few prominent social media users. The money has reportedly been used to help numerous injured Kenyans, as well as assisting the families of Rex Masai and Evans Kiratu to bury their loved ones. Kisawa Emory, TV47.
Still on the protests, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, has made an application to court to detain the 185 protesters who were arrested on Tuesday's anti-finance bill protest for 21 more days to allow investigations be conducted. According to DCI, the 185 protesters should be charged with breaking into buildings, malicious damage of property, and obstructing police officers in the execution of their duties. The arrested demonstrators will also be charged with assaulting a police officer who sustained a bullet wound from a gun that was allegedly fired by one of the protesters.
Malicious damage to property, assaulting police officers, and obstructing police officers in the execution of their duties, Your Honor, as per the law.
Youths who mainly were found exercising their democratic and constitutional rights guaranteed in Article 37 to demonstrate.
A section of youth marched along the hospital town Bomet Road, carrying the coffin with the remains of Brian Kasaine, who was killed while participating in the demonstrations last Tuesday. The youth went to the streets demanding justice from the government, as Chichi Josephine now tells us.
A somber mood engulfed Narok town when a section of youth marched along a major road in the area, carrying the coffin with the remains of Brian Kasaine, who was killed while participating in the demonstrations last Tuesday. The youths, who included border riders, students and business people, marched along the busy road demanding justice from the government, as they alleged that the youth was killed by a senior police officer.
Nenda university, amekatisia yeye masomo yake yote, mtoto ya 20 years. OCS anachukua risasi kumgonga.
Tunasema ukweli. OCS, tumechoka na kazi yako. Unaweza piga aje mtoto akitetea haki?
According to the family, their kin had a bright future after he scored a B+ in the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education and was set to join Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University later in the year.
Tunaenda Rorunga kumshika. Lakini ni mtoto ndio wa kwanza na ndio peke yake kwa kijana. Na ndiye alikuwa amepita kwenda university.
The protesters were angry and puzzled over the circumstances of the late Kasaine's death, citing his unarmed state and bitterly criticized the apparent use of live bullets by the police.
Siezi ni mtu akona watoto kama huyo. Na mtoto hana bunduki. Unaweza piga mtu kama mwizi namna gani? Hiyo imetukasirisha kama wale anko zake. Hatutafurahia maneno siezi ametufanyia. Yenyewe. Hatujafurahia, tunataka hii vyombo yote iende kwa na tunataka astakiwe.
Chichi Josephine, TV47.
Thank you, Chichi Josephine, for that. And that marks the end of our main news. We're taking a short break. When we come back, sports news coming up, including as well the marketplace. Remember, we'll be discussing how the business sector has really felt the pinch when it comes to the 3-week demonstrations. If you're a business person, how do you really ensure that you protect your premises? That is our question of the day for you. Stick around. You're watching a daily report. Don't go too far.
Kila kiongozi ana hadithi yake ya kipekee.
Wazazi wangu walikuwa bit strict kwa sababu mamangu mwenyewe, mimi kutoka kuzaliwa sijailala nje.
The white small one, huyo ana sniff gunpowder na risasi na bomb. Alafu huyo mwingine ni ridgeback ana sniff simba.
Even the employees knows that, so when in the boardroom is the chairman, the CEO and the rest of.
At what point are you a wife?
The minute you get to that inside that door, you become now the wife.
Na kila maamuzi wanayoyafanya hufichua mengi kuhusu utu wao na uongozi wao.
We see God blessing us, and we now realize the power of giving also has to be rewarded back.
Kupitia kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi, tunakuletea mahojiano ya kusisimua na uchambuzi wa kina kuhusu viongozi wetu.
Pick your core business as the bigger stones. Put them in your diary first. Give priority the bigger things.
Usikose kila Alhamis saa 1:30 jioni.
In a world where challenges are as common as opportunities, there are those who dare to defy the odds. They are the entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship isn't just about starting a business. It's about embracing uncertainty, pushing boundaries, and turning dreams into reality.
Hata ambao ni pesa ya kusave, wallahi. Ambao mwaka ni pesa nyingi sana.
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
The way we run the business is in a very unforgiving way, where every team member has to bring out their best.
So, to all the dreamers, innovators, and risk takers out there, remember, being an entrepreneur isn't just a job, it's a way of life. Join the journey. Become an entrepreneur. The Grind, Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
kiongozi ana hadithi yake ya kipekee.
Wazazi wangu walikuwa bit strict kwa sababu mamangu mwenyewe, mimi kutoka kuzaliwa sijailala nje.
The white small one, huyo ana sniff gunpowder na risasi na bomb. Alafu huyo mwingine ni ridgeback ana sniff simba.
Even the employees knows that. So when in the boardroom is the chairman, the CEO, and the rest of.
What point are you a wife?
The minute you get to that inside that door, you become now the wife.
Na kila maamuzi wanayoyafanya hufichua mengi kuhusu utu wao na uongozi wao.
We see God blessing us, and we now realize the power of giving also has to be rewarded back.
Kupitia kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi, tunakuletea mahojiano ya kusisimua na uchambuzi wa kina kuhusu viongozi wetu.
Pick your core business as the bigger stones. Put them in your diary first. Give priority the bigger things.
Usikose kila Alhamis saa 1:30 jioni.
In a world where challenges are as common as opportunities, there are those who dare to defy the odds. They are the entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship isn't just about starting a business, it's about embracing uncertainty, pushing boundaries, and turning dreams into reality.
Hata ambao ni pesa ya kusave, wallahi. Ambao mwaka ni pesa nyingi sana.
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
The way we run the business is in a very unforgiving way, where every team member has to bring out their best.
So, to all the dreamers, innovators, and risk takers out there, remember, being an entrepreneur isn't just a job, it's a way of life. Join the journey. Become an entrepreneur. The Grind, Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Here on Beyond the Limit, we celebrate the extraordinary achievements of individuals who redefine possibilities. In a journey of resilience and determination, these individuals demonstrate that limitations are merely stepping stones to greatness.
I'm Nancy Njoroge, a mother of 3. I have 2 girls and a boy who is Clinton and who is autistic.
When my heart got healed, I decided to come out to be creating CP awareness, to let other people know that there is such a condition, and people that has it is not that they are witches.
Together, let's go beyond the limit every Saturday at 8 p.m.
Welcome to The Realtor, where we take you on an exciting journey from bare land to dream home. Step 1. Finding the perfect plot. We explore location, size, and potential. Next, construction begins. Witness the foundation being laid, walls rising, and rooms taking shape. Step 3. Electricity matters. We delve into wiring, switches, and smart home tech. Step 4. From paint choices to fixtures, it's all about aesthetics. Step 5. It's time to get the right furniture. Finally, the big day. Time to move in and create memories. Join us on the journey to making homes a reality on The Realtor, Tuesdays, 6:30.
Kila kiongozi ana hadithi yake ya kipekee.
Wazazi wangu walikuwa bit strict kwa sababu mamangu mwenyewe, mimi kutoka kuzaliwa sijailala nje.
The white small one, huyo ana sniff gunpowder na risasi na bomb. Alafu huyo mwingine ni ridgeback ana sniff simba.
Even the employees knows that. So when in the boardroom is the chairman, the CEO, and the rest of...
What point are you a wife?
The minute you get to that, inside that door, you become now the wife.
Na kila maamuzi wanayoyafanya hufichua mengi kuhusu utu wao na uongozi wao.
We see God blessing us, and we now realize the power of giving also has to be rewarded back.
Kupitia kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi, tunakuletea mahojiano ya kusisimua na uchambuzi wa kina kuhusu viongozi wetu.
Pick your core business as the bigger stones. Put them in your diary first. Give priority the bigger things.
Usikose kila Alhamis saa 1:30 jioni.
In a world where challenges are as common as opportunities, there are those who dare to defy the odds. They are the entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship isn't just about starting a business, it's about embracing uncertainty, pushing boundaries, and turning dreams into reality.
Hata ambao ni pesa ya kusave, wallahi. Mbao mwaka ni pesa nyingi sana.
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
The way we run the business is in a very unforgiving way, where every team member has to bring out their best.
So, to all the dreamers, innovators, and risk takers out there, remember, being an entrepreneur isn't just a job, it's a way of life. Join the journey. Become an entrepreneur. The Grind, Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Here on Beyond the Limit, we celebrate the extraordinary achievements of individuals who redefine possibilities. In a journey of resilience and determination, these individuals demonstrate that limitations are merely stepping stones to greatness.
I'm Nancy Njoroge, a mother of 3. I have 2 girls and a boy who is Clinton and who is autistic.
When my heart got healed, I decided to come out to be creating CP awareness, to let other people know that there is such a condition, and people that has it is not that they are witches.
Together, let's go beyond the limit every Saturday at 8 p.m.
Welcome to The Realtor, where we take you on an exciting journey from bare land to dream home. Step 1. Finding the perfect plot. We explore location, size, and potential. Next, construction begins. Witness the foundation being laid, walls rising, and rooms taking shape. Step 3. Electricity matters. We delve into wiring, switches, and smart home tech. Step 4. From paint choices to fixtures, it's all about aesthetics. Step 5. It's time to get the right furniture. Finally, the big day. Time to move in and create memories. Join us on the journey to making homes a reality on The Realtor, Tuesdays 6:30.
Kila kiongozi ana hadithi yake ya kipekee.
Wazazi wangu walikuwa bit strict kwa sababu mamangu mwenyewe, mimi kutoka kuzaliwa sijailala nje.
The white small one, huyo ana sniff gunpowder na risasi na bomb. Alafu huyo mwingine ni ridgeback ana sniff simba.
Even the employees knows that, so when you're in the boardroom,
Right, the marketplace begins right now, falling fort for Hibakside, and this evening we talk about the business community really, because they've come out up in arms and saying tunaumia, tafadhali tunaumia. Why are they really hurting? In the past 3 weeks, in the ongoing demonstrations, they have been the biggest casualties, really. The fact is they have been looting and destroying. And right here on set, I do have Edwin Kagwe. He's a financial analyst. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
And on virtual, we do have Tony Kisaka. Good to have you, Tony.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening to you too. I'll be coming to you, gentlemen, but then for the basis of this conversation, I want us to listen in to what the President said earlier on Sunday during the joint media interview, also listening into different Nairobi business communities, what they really had to say concerning the kind of pinch they're feeling. Then we'll get back to just analyze this and get your perspectives on that. Let's listen in first of all.
I have no blood on my hands. 19 people, to the record that I have from the security agencies, are dead. Very unfortunate. As a democracy, that should not be part of our conversation. 2.4 billion of property has been destroyed. The Office of the Chief Justice has been burnt. City Hall has been burnt.
Whereas the President said property worth 2.4 billion was looted or destroyed, we wish to correct the figure upwards to 3 billion. There are so many businesses which were affected. We have images and CCTVs of the goons who took advantage of the protest, and we are ready to share with the security agencies. We also appeal to the politicians to calm down the temperatures in the country for the sake of peace and progress.
Tunashukuru vile president alifanya kwamba ameita majenzis, ameita mavijana to discuss with them, and personally sisi kama wanabiashara tulipita a lot of losses. Personally I've lost, I can't even explain myself a lot because of the pain and the loss I've incurred from the last week protest. So personally, we need government to see how they can compensate the youth and the business people who have lost a lot from the last week destruction.
Tungeomba vijana wafanye demonstration yao, waandamane vile wanataka kuandamana, lakini wasiguse biashara ya mtu. Tunajua vile wanasikia, pia sisi kama wazazi tuna feel zile shida ambazo wanapitia, kwa sababu hao ni vijana ambao wanataka sasa kujitegemea, lakini sasa inaonekana imefika mahali ni kama hakuna, wamesoma na kazi hakuna. Sasa tulikuwa tunaomba yeye President Ruto ajaribu. Hawa vijana sio maadui, ni kama watoto wake.
Wale wote wenye walipigwa huko Gikomba walikuja wakachukua building ya Sunbeam, wakalipa rent, wakachukua stalls, wakaendelea na biashara zao. Na ndio umeona mama mwenzangu hapa hata akilia. Mimi nataka kuuliza, kwani hao vijana wetu wadogo walikuwa na demonstrate kwa jengo la Sunbeam? Mbona Sunbeam imechomwa?
Sisi pia watu wa bodaboda tumedhirika, manake unakuta umetumwa parcel na mteja wako. Ukifika kwa barabara unakutana na hawa goons, wanakunyang'anya bodaboda na wanakunyang'anya mpaka parcel ya customer wako. At the same time unakuta umebeba customer yako, wanakuvamia pamoja na customer yako. Inakuwa sasa ni kama tunashirikiana na wagoons. Kwa hivyo sisi kama CBD tunasema hakuna uporaji wa CBD.
There you have it. The president saying 2.4 billion cash shillings lost after property was either destroyed or burnt down. The Nairobi business community, the Nairobi youth business community, just clarifying that and saying over 3 billion was actually lost. That was as of Tuesday this week. And again, the Nairobi business community just giving also their point on the same. And just a reminder right now on set virtually is Tony Kisaka, and on set I do have Edwin Kagwe. I'll start with you, Edwin. Your assessment generally, hearing from all these voices, from the head of state first of all, he gave his number, but then he did go ahead to clarify, was this in a day, was this in a specific county? Your assessment as a financial analyst, do you think these numbers, because they have been clarified even by Nairobi youth business community, saying this might really even be way beyond. So what is your assessment generally since the 3 weeks of protests began?
Yeah, I think, thank you. First of all, to come up with that number would be very hard. And because, you're looking at across the whole country. So it's, and again, you're looking at have they been reported. So it's, the number even could be slightly more. Yeah, so because you're looking at only the formal sector here. What about the informal sector? Yeah, the people who set up things, who are not, I'm looking at someone who doesn't have an office. Yeah, that person cannot be able to work. Yeah, so there's a lot of destruction. Not only property, but of the infrastructure. I think for me, I'd look at more of the infrastructure, not looking at a building.
Right.
Yeah.
Help us, the viewer watching us this evening, to understand when we say over 2 billion has been lost.
Yes.
What does a business person, for example, what do they mean? Is it, are they talking about inventory? Are they talking about, because you also mentioned infrastructure.
Yeah.
What exactly have they lost?
They have lost a lot. First there is the physical, and you can see the buildings. Then there is, if you look at our GDP in the country, it's like 60% come from the traders. Yeah, so you're looking at, there's a lot that they have lost. So you're looking at even the per day, if you look at the amount which, an estimated amount, you're talking of 3 billion. Per day has been lost in terms of trade. So there's a lot that has been lost. Yeah.
And you just picked that from my mind. Tony, last year, the Kenya Private Sector Alliance said that the private sector is losing an average of 3 billion cash shillings daily owing to the demonstrations that were there. So let's go back in time. So last year, a time like this was during the Azimio anti-government protests as well.
I'm not sure whether you're talking to me. I'm not able to hear you really. It's I think that the sound is breaking, the audio is breaking.
Can you hear me right now?
Yeah, it comes and it's on and off, so it keeps breaking.
All right, we'll try to fix that as well, but then hopefully if you can hear me. All right, can you hear me right now so that I continue the question?
Yes, now I can hear you.
All right. So I'm asking, last year, at a time like now, the private sector had told us that the private sector is losing about 3 billion cash shillings daily, owing to the July 2023 demonstrations, owing to the Azimio anti-government protests. So this means that it is not a new phenomena that even the business sector is looking at right now. As a business person, should some of this, past events, what could a business person do to even prevent such? Right. Apologies for that. We'll try to get Tony back on Skype as well. But then our question of the day to you is, what measures do you think a business person should take to protect the premises during demonstrations? We've posted that question on our Facebook page. You can talk to us, a couple of comments so far, on WhatsApp number 0793-267-279. We'll definitely be glad to hear what you have to say. As a business person, what do you think a business person should take to protect the premises during demonstrations? We do have Tony back. Tony, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm sorry, the audio is really cracking up, but I hope I'll be able to get your question. Just I remember I got the part about what happened last year and how much they were losing per day. So what was the question? Sorry.
Right. So due to that, I'll make it brief. Last year, we had a similar event during the Azimio anti-government protests, and the KEPSA said we are losing about 3 billion daily. 3 billion daily. So this means it's not a new phenomena. What should a business person have done to even prevent such?
Okay, I've lost you again.
All right, we'll try to get Tony and just fix that audio hitch. on that. But then, I mean, Edwin, you can still on the same. Yeah. Because last year, Kenya private sector lands, KEPS said we're losing about 3 billion. So that was during the anti-government protests. That means it was not a new phenomena that we're seeing right now. These are events that we have seen previously, that really the business sector is the huge casualty. Mm-hmm. Right now, what could a business person have done to even prevent, quote unquote, quite the loss, if we can say that?
Yeah, it's a tricky question because without peace, you cannot be able to plan. And when you bring insecurity there, the only thing you can think about is having insurance. And most of the insurance companies will not even insure such cases of political unrest. So ideally, it's you're looking at someone, a business person could have maybe relocated out of the hot places like in town. But looking at the Kenyan case, it's most of the people and where the trade is, you are looking at within the towns. So relocating your operation outside town where there are hotspots, you can do that. That's one of the things. Mm-hmm. Someone can be able to do that. And then looking at it from the perspective of if I'm a business person, it's just to know when to release your goods to the market. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's another thing you can look at. Mm-hmm. But if you don't release your things in the market, then you don't sell. So it's a matter of just saying, yes, I'm just holding on, and I can be able to release these goods later on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's a hard thing to plan when you have the political unrest.
So that means you do not have all your inventory at one place?
No, you don't have, because if you look at most of the businesses in Kenya, especially the traders, you have people with businesses across all major towns in the country. So if you just look at it and say, where do I open the businesses when there is a political unrest? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And briefly, we'll be listening into what Kisii traders really had to say, and these are small and medium enterprises. These are people who don't really not have the luxury to have their whole inventory in different kinds of places. But then, Adrian, there's something called for business person, the kind of risk appetite. There's a certain threshold that comes with risk appetite.
Yes.
For such a time, how do you balance that? As a business person, that you look at how things are, because these are business people who, even kind of communities that we've seen, they have channels, they have groups and groupings, and they're able to see, they also even able to be advised and told, today things might not really be as calm, so just stay at home. But then one may decide, no, let me just go and look for something. Let me just open. Tell us about the kind of, how do you balance the risk appetite as a business person?
Yeah, it's a tight one to do that, because I'm looking at it from, if I'm a small trader, if I deal with perishable things, if I don't open, I lose. If I open, I lose as well. Mm-hmm. So ideally, just to, you need to, you're looking at people standing on the fence and saying, can we be able to get these things, can we be able to sell our things? And if we can be able to sell our things, then it's, they look at it and say, it's better to go ahead and sell. Mm-hmm. Instead of closing and losing everything. Mm-hmm. But the risk appetite here you're looking at, when now you get now deaths coming as a result of that. So in that way, before, when it's a peaceful protest, it's an easy one to plan. But when now you get violent, what happens?
Right.
Yeah, you have to get out of, the risk appetite. There is no risk appetite, because you're balancing between life and death.
Right,
yeah.
Right. Let's listen into what Kisii traders had, because, just asking them, even in all this melee, this past 3 weeks, what have they been able to do? How's the situation been like for them? Let's listen in, then we'll be right back to continue this conversation.
Kwa majina mimi naitwa Jenike Mto. Tulipata hasara kubwa. Wamama wote, wengine wana wabwana wanasomezea hii vitu yako yaharibika jana. Jana vitu yote yaharibika yetu. Laki mheshimiwa tuone huruma. Bado ulituweka vitu yetu ilichomeka yote kabisa, tunasumbuka. Hakuna kitu tunapewa, watoto wanakula, watoto walikuwa wanarudi shule. Tumeshangaa tu hapa tena tunakaa, tunashindwa pale tunaenda.
Vitu zetu ziliharibiwa, kila kitu ilichomwa, stock kingine ndio tulikuwa tumeweka, tukabaki hatuna hata shilingi. Watoto walikuwa warudi leo mashuleni, hatuna cha kuwapelekea shuleni. Wamama wengine ni wachane, wengine ni single mothers. Tunaomba serikali tusaidie, Mheshimiwa Simba, tunaomba utusaidie. Tafadhali tunakuomba, wamama tunalia. Hatuna chochote, tumeachwa vile tulivyo hivi. Hata shilingi hakuna. Hata hatuna shilingi 10 ya kununulia watoto sukuma tuende kuwapikia. Ukifika kwa nyumba watoto wanalia, unashindwa utatoa wapi wapikie.
Na hatuchaielewa ni nini ilikuwa. Hatujui ni maandamano ama ilikuwa nini. Tumeumizwa, vitu zetu zilichukuliwa, mafruitsi, mapambasi, nguo, wengine wakachukua vitanda sikachomwa. Aki tunaomba Mheshimiwa, kuna siku ulitusaidia na tukashukuru. Na hata leo tunataka Mheshimiwa utusaidie. Simbarati utusaidie vile ulituonea huruma wakati mwingine ukatusaidia. Aki Mungu arati mwenyewe, Mungu utusikie na utusikie kilio chetu. Tulichomewa, tumeharibiwa, hatuna chochote. Huko ndio utegemezi wetu, huko ndio tunategemea kila kitu. Hakuna kitu tumebakia hata moja. Na sisi ni single mothers, wengine ni wachane. Hapo ndio tunategemea, wanafunzi ndio tunachukua pesa hapo tunapeleka shule. Sasa hii watoto wetu wako nje, hatuna chochote. Hatuna mbele wala nyuma. Tunaomba Mheshimiwa utusaidie.
Mimi nafanya biashara na wamama hapa nje ya hospitali. Kenya kilitokea jana ndio tunashangaa ni maandamano ama ni unyanyasaji wa kibinadamu. Sababu tumeamka leo asubuhi tumepata Kenya tunategemea kuuza, hatujapata hata moja, sio kitanda, sio mzigo. Si chochote Kenya kimebakia kwa sababu tumeona ni kama kile Kenya tumeokota tu ni chifu. Ndio unaona vijana wenzetu wanasaidia kufagia barabara. Lakini kusema kweli hakuna Kenya tumebaki nacho. Watoto wanarudi shule, watoto wanaenda shule. Hata sasa tunashangaa ni maandamano ama ni unyanyasaji wa kibinadamu. Hata wenye tulikuwa ukijaribu kutazama hii ilikuwa ni maandamano. Hii ilikuwa ni uporaji wa hali ya juu. Tunaomba serikali kama kuna uwezekano wa kutusaidia itusaidie kwa sasa hivi kwa sababu hatuna mbele wala nyuma. Asanteni.
Mimi ni mama nausia level 6 hapo street ya level 6. Mimi ninauza nguo, nauza na besheni. Nimekuja nimepata kila kitu imechomeka. Beseni zangu zimechomwa, nguo zangu zimechomwa, kitanda imechomwa. Na mimi ni mama mjane, watoto nimeweka shule. Hata saa hii nimeshindwa nitafanya aje. Sasa nimeshindwa, sina nyuma, sina mbele wala nyuma, sijui nitafanya nini, sijui nitaanzia wapi. Juu sijabakisha hata kitu. Sasa nimeshindwa mali nitaenda, sijui nifanye nini, sijui nitafanya aje, sijui nitaanzia wapi. Serikali naomba usaidizi wenu kama mnaweza mtusaidie.
I mean, it's definitely even painful to watch what the Kisii traders are saying. They're really lamenting, really. And we have Tony back. Tony, I don't know if you were able to listen into what the Kisii traders are talking about, but then the micro and small medium enterprises, entrepreneurs really, these are at the heart of even the Kisii town. They sell farm produce, and they were really hurt. And previously, Edward was really telling us for a trader who sells perishable goods, they definitely have a high risk appetite. They'd really want to come the next day despite the demonstrations and sell. Still on the same, your analysis on this, how does a business person gauge on how a situation will look like on that day if demonstrations are called and say, today let me sit back at home and relax?
Well, if you really look at it, what we have, especially around Kenya, is what we call the Kadogo economy, where as you said, many of these traders, the small-scale traders, actually survive on a day-by-day. So I'm expecting to make some money today that will ensure that my family has food today and, takes care of my expenses tomorrow. And whatever I get during the day tomorrow will take care of the next day. So when we have a situation like what we're having right now, there are very many families that have got a lot of uncertainties because when you are possibly earning maybe minimum wage or even not maybe minimum wage, maybe even more than that, but then you cannot be sure as to whether you're going to be able to, number one, get clients on that particular day, because if you're going to put your wares out there and then you're meeting demonstrators, if it's peaceful, that's fine. In fact, peaceful demonstrations would actually create business. Why? Because, if you're selling, some of the things that we normally see in the streets, the demonstrators themselves are the ones who are going to buy. If it's fruits, if it's sweets, things like that. But then when you have demonstrations where you cannot know who's in the group, whether it's goons, whether it's infiltrated goons or other elements of unwanted elements, let me put it that way, then you run a very high risk of going at a loss. Why? Because if they take anything of yours, they're not going to pay for it. If they demand for anything, if they could actually even injure you, they might even steal from you. So at that particular point, the risk is too high. And for many of the traders, when they assess this, they would rather than stay at home than go out for that particular day. And unfortunately, if they had already bought the wares for that particular day, and these are perishables, then that is going to be a major loss on their part.
Right, and still on the same, Tony, there was a hypothetical of someone who decided to go to their stalls and actually just sell, despite the demonstrations and despite whatever is going to be happening. But then, so hypothetically, and we've definitely seen this in a number of counties where stalls were actually closed, but then goons and even criminal elements decided to just break these same stalls that are actually closed. Right now, we've seen business persons have a particular layer of security for them, either CCTV footages or even private security. Will you advise them right now to look for another extra layer of even protection? Because the fact here is, on Tuesday, there was a warning and a call that there's going to be a demonstration. Tomorrow, there is going to be anti-government protests. On Sunday, we also expect the Sabasaba. So these are events that are outlined that we know. For a business person, should they now think about having an extra layer of protection?
That would be ideal if you really look at it. And in any case, even when we're saying an extra layer of protection, the question is to what extent? Because for many of this, when you talk about extra layers of protection, we talk about financing that. So that means that I'm already struggling and I have to spend. So if I have CCTV, if I have guards at that place, chances are another extra layer of protection means possibly maybe looking to see if I can be able to hire armed security to be able to ensure that my place is protected. Now, we have seen a video where someone who had a firearm tried to fend away some of the goons that were trying to attack his business, and we saw how that went. What I would suggest is the most important thing that can happen right now is for most businesses to ensure that they have insurance. Okay, and the insurance to have the rider that it also caters for demos and stuff like this, protestations and damage through demos and stuff like that. Right. That way, they will ensure that even if they run at a loss, they are going to be compensated. Because you cannot be able to now come and say that, we are sure that, 100% we are protected. I say this because yesterday we saw people, the public, and including goons.
All right. I can pick it up from there.
Kindly, so we can do this after the short break. On that bit, because he's really touched on something that I also wanted to extrapolate on matters insurance and the kind of packages that a business person should know. Remember, question of the day to you is: what measures do you think a business person should take to protect the premises during demonstrations? Talk to us on WhatsApp, 0793-267-279. We've posted the same question on our Facebook page and talk to us. Don't go too far. You're watching The Marketplace.
mwamuzi ana hadithi yake ya kipekee.
Wazazi wangu walikuwa bit strict kwa sababu mamangu mwenyewe, mimi kutoka kuzaliwa sijailala nje.
The white small one, huyo ana sniff gunpowder na risasi na bomb. Alafu huyo mwingine ni ridgeback ana sniff simba.
Even the employees knows that. So when in the boardroom is the chairman, the CEO, and the rest of.
What point are you a wife?
The minute you get to that inside that door, you become now the wife.
Na kila maamuzi wanayoyafanya hufichua mengi kuhusu utu wao na uongozi wao.
We see God blessing us, and we now realize the power of giving also has to be rewarded back.
Kupitia kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi, tunakuletea mahojiano ya kusisimua na uchambuzi wa kina kuhusu viongozi wetu.
Pick your core business as the bigger stones. Put them in your diary first. Give priority the bigger things.
Usikose kila Alhamis saa 1:30 jioni.
In a world where challenges are as common as opportunities, there are those who dare to defy the odds. They are the entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship isn't just about starting a business. It's about embracing uncertainty, pushing boundaries, and turning dreams into reality.
Hata ambao ni pesa ya kusave, wallahi. Ambao mwaka ni pesa nyingi sana.
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
The way we run the business is in a very unforgiving way, where every team member has to bring out their best.
So, to all the dreamers, innovators, and risk takers out there, remember, being an entrepreneur isn't just a job, it's a way of life. Join the journey. Become an entrepreneur. The Grind, Monday.
Right, welcome back. We're discussing matters, the business sector and how it has really felt the pinch when it comes to these demonstrations, which are in the third week this particular week. And I'm discussing this with Tony Kisaka and Edwin Kagwe on set right now. There's something that Tony had mentioned about insurance, and I want Edwin to also pick on the same. Is it the fact that right now, even as you also give us your analysis of the insurance penetration in the country among MSMEs, is it the fact that most of these businesses do not know that they can insure their businesses when it comes to such a time, some political instability as well as terrorism?
Yeah, if you look at the informal sector, that one is where the penetration is very low. And for them, most of them, because of the thin profit margin, they will not be able, they'll look at it as a cost. Mm-hmm. So they will not be able to say that I'm going to insure my business. Yeah. And you'll need to look at it from, if it's the formal sector, it's very easy. Those, they have mechanism and they have budgeted. They have said that we are going to have an amount which we'll set aside for the insurance. Mm-hmm. And they know that out of, maybe we have insured half an M, for instance, you can be able to get not the whole amount. After this assessment, most likely will get less than that. But the guys in the informal sectors, those ones, they don't know about insurance. Mm-hmm. And for them, they will not be able to, they will not be able to entertain any extra cost, even for an askari. Because if you look at the market, like the one we're talking about in Kisii, most of them you find they have one askari, the whole market or two. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for them, even that one, I'm sure it's very hard to pay because of the thin profit margin. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Tony, just to pick from where he's mentioning, having an assessor, having the insurer bringing on board an assessor just to take a look at the kind of damage. So I want you to crunch the numbers for us. Hypothetically, you have, let's say, Nyaringita supermarket. And as Nyaringita supermarket, I'm assessing solely, and I'm seeing I have lost about 500 million cash shillings. So how does this insurer come and do the whole assessment, and how much do I know that I am covered?
Well, when you look at it from an insurance perspective, every business is different. So what matters most is going to be the assessment when you're taking out the insurance policy, right? Because that is what's going to determine the level of risk. It's going to determine once they look at it, they're going to be able to determine the level of risk, confirm whether they can actually be able to insure it, and then based on how big the business is or how much stock you have, then they will be able to come and say this is the premium you're supposed to pay. For instance, let's say for instance now for me, when I look at it, and I'll just relate this to now maybe home insurance. Home insurance for a business, a home that is got you're insuring close to about 800,000 bob, you'll be paying about 15,000 shillings for a year. Now, if you look at it and say, okay, this is maybe up to $1 million shillings, and I'm paying about 15,000 or let's say 12,000 per year for that particular insurance policy. So the premium is 12,000. That means it's 1,000 shillings per year. We need to, number one, we need to get insurance companies to get to the place where they can allow you to be able to pay it in bits, so that it's not the whole 12,000. Because I know for the small trader, and that's what Kagwe is saying, that for the small trader, it's gonna be very difficult to get a whole 12,000 shillings. But then once you're able to pay that, you can imagine, yes, it's 12,000 in a year, but then if something happens and maybe your house burns down, or let's say, for instance, your business burns down, and you're able to get, even if it's maybe 500, 600,000 shillings, you're not starting from zero. But then without that insurance policy, you're going to be starting from zero. And for many people, that is going to be a nightmare. And it's not just for the small traders as well, because I'm looking at it. Last week, we've been planning for a conference since February. And it was supposed to have been last week, 26th to 28th. Now, unfortunately, because of what was happening, we were expecting more than 300 medics to be able to register, to pay in, and they had confirmed that yes, we will be coming for this thing. But at the last minute, because of what was happening, most of them did not pay. We only had about 10 people who paid. Now you can imagine, we've already paid for international speakers, we've done all these things, we've paid for the hotel and everything. So we already ran at a loss. And unfortunately for us, I'm talking about insurance, but we had not insured that particular conference. So you can imagine when you're expecting to make money out of a conference, but now we're having to dig into our own pockets to pay for the services that we got, to pay for the air tickets for the speakers who came in, because some of them are just, they got here by the time this was happening. So at the end of the day, we are actually maybe having to either borrow or dig into our pockets to do that. Now, if we had taken insurance for this particular conference, chances are that we will have been sitting pretty. So this is also a learning point, even for me as well, as I'm talking about it.
Right. And Edwin, before we listen to what residents of Laikipia say, some of these events come, let's say, annually, for example. They are not events that will probably happen every single month. Some of these political kind of tensions. I'm saying the last time we even had a similar was last year around this time, around July, when you had the Zimio administrations, which really started from around March all the way, went for quite a number of months. For a business person, because I mean, as he says, probably the rate of, let's say, 12,000 a year, and a business person would be wondering, mbona naeka hii pesa yote, and then at the end of the month, at the end of the year, there's nothing that is happening. So what should a business person probably think when it comes to getting some of this political instability kind of package?
Yeah, I think it's a learning point now, and I'm sure it's for the formal sector, it's very easy because they can be able, if you look at their record keeping, if you look at how they do business, it's more organized. So they can be able to plan and say, this is it. And many insurance companies in Kenya, they have actually had such a product of political instability. But if you look at now the informal sector, those that team will not learn that much because even the state of the record keeping, it's pretty low. So even if I'm looking at the insurance company to assess whatever they are saying that they have, it will take some time and it's a cost of doing business. So ideally they will go to more formal sector, yeah? And because there are quite a number of things which the opportunity cost for this protest, it's quite high. Yeah, and that's why I was saying even before, if you look at the it's the whole infrastructure, not only the building that we are looking at. You know, like my colleague here said that they have lost business. So if you add that and many others, you know, you see it's a lot of money that has been lost.
Right, right. Judiciary on WhatsApp is asking, kindly help them, kindly tell them to tell us about the political insurance. I'm really interested. I'm a business person. Hold on, Joyce will be telling you more about that, and they'll be also helping you understand. Right now, I want us gentlemen to listen to what Laikipia traders are saying, and Laikipia business people are saying concerning this, the kind of pinch they're saying, specifically in Nyahururu. Let's listen in.
Names are Jerry Wambugu from Laikipia County. Hii mambo ya protesting and demonstration imefika mahali kumeingia goons. Na hawa goons wanatuharibia. Take for instance, mafama. Sasa vitu zangu nikileta kwa soko hazina wanunuaji. Kwa sababu watu wote wamepotea town. Na market yetu ni hapa Nyahururu. So, na at least nataka kuongea na serikali watafute mbinu at least hii mambo ya demonstration ishe. Just talk to the GZ. Ukiongea nao tutatafuta suluhisho. Si ati hatuna suluhisho. We have it within ourselves. Kama hii mambo ya kujiongeza mishahara hata inaongeza kidonda kwa already bloated financial constraints in the country. So, I would beg our dear president, afikirie mambo ya ushuru na hii budget, aitupilie mbali, aiunde afresh. Hii mambo ya demonstration itaisha within no time. Kari tengeneze a conducive environment, ndio hata vijana wakirudi kwa shamba hata kuwa na time ya kukuja kwa barabara kuprotest.
Wewe kama mkulima mdogo, je, uko na insurance cover?
I don't have insurance cover. Kitu ile natoka kwa shamba ndio unakuja nauza. So when there's demonstration in the town, hakuna market ya kuuza vitu zangu. So,
right, and before we continue on this particular conversation, I want us to take a short breather. Kunywe maji kidogo, and then we'll be right back. Keep talking to us on our socials. We're asking you, as a business person, how do you ensure that your business premises are safe? What are you doing to ensure that your business premises are safe? Talk to us. 0793267279 is our WhatsApp number. Don't go too far.
Kila kiongozi ana hadithi yake ya kipekee.
Wazazi wangu walikuwa bit strict kwa sababu mamangu mwenyewe, mimi kutoka kuzaliwa sijailala nje.
The white small one, huyo ana sniff gunpowder na risasi na bomb. Alafu huyo mwingine ni ridgeback ana sniff simba.
Even the employees knows that. So when in the boardroom is the chairman, the CEO, and the rest of.
What point are you a wife?
The minute you get to that inside that door, you become now the wife.
Na kila maamuzi wanayoyafanya hufichua mengi kuhusu utu wao na uongozi wao.
We see God blessing us, and we now realize the power of giving also has to be rewarded back.
Kupitia kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi, tunakuletea mahojiano ya kusisimua na uchambuzi wa kina kuhusu viongozi wetu.
Pick your core business as the bigger stones. Put them in your diary first. Give priority the bigger things.
Usikose kila Alhamis saa 1:30 jioni.
Right, welcome back. This is The Marketplace. I'm yours truly, Stanley Nyaringita. We're discussing how the business sector has really felt the pinch when it comes to these demonstrations. And, well, real quick, Edwin, also to answer what Joyce was really asking when concerning just a brief understanding of this insurance package when it comes to political instability. First of all, you can start with that, just to help understand what it entails and all that.
Yeah, I guess that's, it's a broad area. And what I can say is that when you're taking out your insurance, that's an added thing that you're usually told, do you want to cover that? So it's an add-on on the basic insurance. It's just like the way you take a car insurance, you're told, do you want to add a certain percentage for protest? So actually, it's when someone is taking their insurance, they need just to engage their insurance company and see how can they be able to add, what add-ons do they have? Because there are some who will say they don't want to get into the political unrest or protest. They will not cover. The ones who cover, they will, but it will come at a cost.
Right.
Yeah.
And Tony, before we get into the climax of this conversation, and just before I even start to ask you guys for final thoughts, there are, do you think there's an upside for a business person? Do you think a business person should look at a particular upside to these demonstrations and what he or she can actually make more money?
Well, if you really look at the demonstrations, and that is the Reject the Finance Bill demonstrations, the upside of this is that the main reason why those demos were there, it wasn't just about residents. It was also about business people. Why? Because there have been very many taxes that have been introduced. If you really look at it, and the number of taxes, I don't even know, I can't even call it double taxation. It's triple or quadruple taxation, because at every level you are being taxed. So for business people, this was resulting in them ending up with less money in their pockets or in their accounts at the end of the day because of the numerous taxes that they have had to pay. And the worst part about it is that you're paying all those taxes and you're not getting the required services. You're not getting the same level of services. And that's why the agitation. So with the demos, if we can be able to get the government to, number one, reduce the taxes, whether by broadening its tax base, but reduce the taxes that people have got to pay, and then ensure that those taxes are actually doing what they're supposed to do, then we will not be finding ourselves in the problem that we're having currently.
Right. And still on the same, Edwin, so how can a business person think about making maybe more money when all these demonstrations are going on? Because with kind of people we've talked to, someone saying mimi nauza mask right now, mwingine anauza toothpaste having on bottom of the eyes. I don't know how that helps kupunguza makali ya tear gas, but then and so many other businesses that are really mushroomed because of what is happening right now.
Yeah, those are, you're looking at small businesses, the ones which are, you set up today and within a week you're done. Those ones, they can be able to make money.
Okay.
But if you're looking at the long-term people, and most of the businesses are usually long-term, in such a case, you'll not be able to make much money because because you're looking at it like, look at a guy you're talking about, the mask and all that.
Yeah.
You need to import them. You need, there's a whole chain before you bring this. So for a business person, when you have instability, it's very hard because unless you're thinking of, and this is for small ones, you cannot be able to think investing out of Kenya. But if you're a Kenyan person and you don't know outside Kenya, it's very hard for you to make business out of this.
And Tony, this means that right now businesses have had to change the dynamics of how they do businesses. If someone was not into digital space, they right now have to get into the digital space so that they actually even make more money. Would you agree?
I would like to agree to that, but now you've got to also remember that there is a digital tax. So they have to, again, assess and see, by getting online, by going into the digital space, will I be able to make more money or will I be making less? Because if I get into that space and then I'm taxed, what will be the net result of it? What will I end up getting at the end of the day?
Yeah. And again, if you look at even that, is that, even if you're digital, you need the courier, to take from point A to B.
Yeah.
And that will be more expensive as well. So it's, if you look at Jumuia, it has not grown as the way people thought it would grow as much. Yeah. And that's, you can, digitization again, you're looking at the internet. The internet is cut off. What do you do? you cannot be able to, planning long term, I think that's where we need to look at. And I'll talk to what he has said is very good, because we are looking at the tax environment needs to be, you need a constancy, so that you can be able to say, for this time, these are what I'm dealing with.
Okay.
Yeah. But for the last few years in Kenya, the tax regime has been very erratic, and you cannot be able to plan.
All right, gentlemen, pertinent issues that you're raising. I'll start with you, Tony, just probably in about 30 seconds, your last thoughts, and just summarizing it up with an advice to a business person listening to you. How do they bounce back?
For me, I would say that in consideration of what's been happening, because we do not know how long this is going to be, it'll require, especially the business people, the small business people, and I'll address those ones because those are the ones who are really affected at this particular point, is to be able to assess and see what is it that you can be able to do in the meantime. What is your workaround? For instance, if you look at that person who normally sells sunglasses in the streets, they'll sell sunglasses because there's the sun, it's hot. But then the moment it's raining, you'll find them selling umbrellas. Right. Meaning that, you will always ensure that you've got a very small stock, or you've got an agreement with the people who are supplying you, so that you are able to maneuver. You're having a lot more cash flow and less inventory. Right. You're always going to be able to use as minimal inventory as possible, or even better, if you're able to always supply your orders based, or rather get your inventories based on the orders that are coming across to you. Right. So these are some of the things that they will need to be able to now start analyzing and find out, how much am I able to sell in a day, or how much am I able to sell every 2 hours, so that I can only take stock for 2 hours.
Right. Thank you very much, Tony. Finally, briefly, Edwin.
Yeah, I think for me it's just to have a plan B, and that's where you need to look at it and say that if it's very hot out there, what else can you be able to do?
What else can you to do? Thank you very much, gentlemen, for giving us these wise words. Tony Kisaka is Executive Director, Treasury Future Limited, as well as Financial Analyst, and Edwin Kagwe, Financial Analyst. Thank you very much. Daudi Oyongesa says lock with electric doors. Pius Otieno Sama, let the police do their work. And Kimtai Matthew, the best remedy is to close it. Edward Muia says let the police play their role. Finally, Andrew Munyalo, wapewe police na serikali. Thank you very much for interacting with us. This has been The Marketplace, holding fort for Hibackside, which is actually her birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday, Hibackside. Have yourself a wonderful evening. Tuonane kesho for Morning Cafe, just to start your day in a fantastic way for Junior Friday. Koheri for now. Goodbye.
Goodbye.